This program airs statewide on California Public Television and is a California's Gold classic. Hi, I'm Huell. Welcome to Rogers Lake, a very big, old lake located here in the Mojave Desert. How big is this lake? Well, it's got 44 square miles of surface. How old is this lake? Well, many people will tell you that this place has been here over 1 million years. And to be completely honest with you, this is not really a lake, because most of the time there is very little water here. This place is bone dry. This is a dry lake. And if you look at this dry lake bed, you'll see that it consists of sand and silt and very small particles of clay that have been packed together and packed down over the years. Now, this place is very dry and very hot and at times very windy. And when you're out here, you get this it's kind of a strange feeling. I mean, look at this terrain. This is very unusual stuff. It's been named a National Historic Landmark because there's so much colorful and interesting history out here. And if you decide to spend the day with me out in the middle of this big old dry lake bed, I think we'll all discover together that this place also contains a lot of California's gold. Welcome to Edwards Air Force Base, a place that's known all over the world. The Space Shuttle has landed here numerous times. And when the Space Shuttle lands, guess what it lands on? Yep, good old Rogers Dry Lake. That's how packed down and dependable this dry lake bed is. But long before the Space Shuttle, Rogers Dry Lake was the home base, the testing ground, for all sorts of experimental aircraft, going all the way back to the early 1940s. Aircraft that set all kinds of speed records. But before that, something else was going fast out here.
This is a hot rod. And so are these, all of them.
That's right, Mr. Announcer. Starting in the 1920s, this dry lake, then known as Muroc Dry Lake, was the place hot rodders came to from all over Southern California. Now, they came here to conduct time trials, to race against the clock, to check out each other's cars, and to have a good, safe time. If you were a hot rodder, this was the place to be. Everybody knew about Muroc Dry Lake. It was legendary. And then, in December of 1941, the racing stopped. World War II had erupted, and the U.S. military took over the dry lake and turned it into a base that, of course, would eventually become Edwards. The military literally kicked the hot rodders off the dry lake. And things have pretty much been that way ever since, with the Air Force continuing to use the lake as a base and the hot rodders racing on other dry lakes in the area like El Mirage, or going all the way to Bonneville Salt Flats in Utah. But wait, they're back! After an absence of over 50 years, the sound of hot rod engines again filled the air of old Muroc Dry Lake. It was a weekend filled with excitement and nostalgia as the Air Force opened up the base for 2 days of racing. Sponsored by the Southern California Timing Association, all kinds of vehicles were there. Thousands of people showed up to be a part of all this, to be a part of history.
Huell, I'd like you to meet Wally Parks over here. He's past president of SCTA and the chairman of the board of National Hot Rod Association. 84 years old and back at Muroc for the first time since 41.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Huell Hauser.
I know who you are.
How you doing?
I'm one of your fans.
Well, thank you,
How nice
sir.
of you to come visit us on our home ground.
Well, home ground. That's
what it is.
This is really hard home ground.
That's
isn't it?
right. It is. It's where this whole sport had its start. This organization, the Southern California Timing Association, started for the purpose of straightening out things that were taking place up here back before World War II. And we're just so proud to be back again after 55 years to be able to run here.
Now, when did you first come out here and race on these dry lake beds?
My first year out here was 1932, and I was in high school, barely, and came up with some friends, and we had to hitchhike to get up here, so we walked a lot of miles on this place. Then in 1933, I ran my four-cylinder Chevy Coupe up here and turned 82 and 1900 miles per hour.
Wow, that was moving.
That was moving for that time. I mean, it was a respectable speed, but just the satisfaction of and the feel of being able to do this out here was really the reward.
Who first figured out that these dry lake beds would be a great place to race cars?
Well, that goes back into the 1920s at least, because in those days they used to run endurance trials up here. Some of the car manufacturers, early cars did, and a lot of the professional race drivers used to come up here and run for world records on this. And it is the only thing of its size and this smoothness in California or west of the Bonneville Salt Flats.
Because it's an amazing place. I had never been on a dry lake bed before. What does it feel like when you're racing on it, when you're speeding down?
Well, the difference in this kind of a surface is that you have a hard time getting traction. You know, it's not like racing on concrete or asphalt. Tires spin very easily, and you can see cars running down here 200 miles an hour, and it takes them 2/3 of the way down before they really get a grip and get up to speed. But it's smooth, and you know, it's a great feeling. You ought to try it.
You know, I have seen old home movies of racing out here in the 30s and 40s, and it looks like everybody was having a good time.
Well, that's what it's all about, is to have a good time. There's no prize money, there are no awards, it's just having fun.
This is the first time there's been any racing here since 1941.
Right, that's the first time this organization has run. I think they ran one or two small events in 42, but this is the first time we've been able to come back in all those years.
So is there a real sense of history and you know, things coming full circle?
Well, there is, and of course we're sitting here right on the finest testing facility in the world at Edwards Air Force Base. I think there's a lot of relationship between going fast on the ground and doing so in the air.
Now, is this the way it would have looked back in the 30s and 40s, just cars lined up like this? And
Similar, except they would have lined up 10 or 12 cars across and run all of them at the same time with no electronic timing traps or anything like that. It was just kind of a free-for-all deal out here.
Really?
Yeah, it was kind of insane.
So are these things that legends are made of? Are these stories that have been passed down about what it was like back here in the old days?
Well, there's still a lot of the guys around that ran here in the old days, and a lot of the equipment manufacturers got their starts out here, and the science keeps going on.
Yeah.
They keep bringing stuff out and testing it, and they got their starts here, you know, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's still going on.
Now, I've seen the old films. This looks kind of like one of the old cars. Would it have been something like that, or?
They would have primarily run a roadster out here. Very few coupes were allowed to run. It was a class thing. You know, coupes weren't considered hot rods in the old days. It had to be a roadster. No top, no windows. Men were men, and other people drove the coupes. You know, they put the girls in the coupes and let the guys ride the roadsters.
Wow, let's look at this. That's a
coupe. It's a 5-window coupe, and belongs to this gentleman right here, Doug Robinson.
I've been watching you. You've been dusting off your car. That's not going to last very long, is it?
No. It's sort of a fruitless. It keeps him busy, though.
I got you.
You know, he's the head of the rubber scrubbers, wipers, and what?
Get it right. The rubber scrubbers, scrapers, toters, and fetchers. Local 210.9.
Well, you're doing very well at what you're doing. This is a beautiful looking car.
Yeah, it's been a very successful car too.
Now, this is the first time you all are racing it on a dry lake bed?
No, this is the first time we've raced it on this dry lake bed.
Yeah.
This car has been the #1 car 3 of the last 6 years.
Really?
Yeah, it holds 15 records at El Mirage and 7 at Bonneville.
Oh boy.
We're gonna make another one right now.
Boy, there it goes. Whoa. Once again, you can't see anything, just dust.
This is Mike Waters. He's the president of the SCTA, and he's the race director of this.
The race director.
Race director.
Now, I heard in the early days, there were no race directors out here. It was kind of almost a free-for-all out here.
That's
right?
what I understand. I wasn't around back then, but I understand it was semi-chaotic.
As opposed to this, which is?
This is semi-organized.
Yeah, this is my dad, Scotty. He was here when he was 24 years old. Him and my mom used to sleep out here on the ground when he was 24 years old. And another thing, I said, what, did you just throw the sleeping bags out? And he said, we didn't even have sleeping bags then.
So you were out here in the early days?
Yeah, I came out here in 38 and 39, and my wife and them come out. We had a Model A with Winfield flathead on it. We drove it out, slept out here. We put canvas out. We got way over in the boondocks, put a canvas and some blankets, and we all slept in a row. That's a whole group of us. Maybe there was 4, 6, 8, or 10 cars, and that's what we did.
You know, it's isolated out here now, but back then it must have really been isolated.
Well, it was really out here. We really had some fun getting out here, but we always had a tow rope to tow our cars home, too. That was one of the things. But we always had fun anyhow, like we're doing now. But nobody like this. There's only maybe 40 or 50 of us.
40 or 50 people would be out here to watch.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, how do you feel having your son out here carrying on this tradition?
Well, real good. I was going to drive today, but my eyes went bad on me, and I can't see far enough ahead, so I'm letting him do it. But I was going to do the driving here to commemorate my time out here all those years ago.
So this really is history coming back, isn't it?
It is really history coming back, right.
Yeah, it's like old times.
What do you mean old times? You were out here before?
Oh, yeah, I was out here at the last one we had here at Muroc before the military chased us off.
The very last one. What was that like, knowing that it was the last one?
Well, we didn't know it at the time. The war broke out shortly after that, and the military just started building this place up. And the last meet we had here, I remember that military plane flew down and landed next to us, and they come over and wanted to know what we were doing. We told them, and they says, well, if you take that end of the lake, we'll confine our activities to the other end of the lake, and everything will be fine. After that, we had to pick an alternate lake like Harper's or Rosamond, which wasn't a very good lake, or El Mirage, which was small. But that was the good old days, before the prices of all the equipment started going up.
Yeah. Well, they were good old days, but they're back, at least for this weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the first time I've been on this lake since that last meet.
Well, does it look the same?
Looks the same, just as dusty. Just as noisy.
And just as much fun.
Oh, yeah.
Look at this car over here. This is a feast for the eyes.
Isn't this great? Isn't this great? We're gonna do a parade of all the street rods here very shortly.
Howdy. Oh,
And,
look at he's got the little trailer there.
Teardrop trailer. It's a happening. It's about the only thing you can say about it.
It really is. Now this guy's got a picture. What have you got here?
Now look, this is Barnyard Engine Swap, 1939. I've passed this picture around the whole lake bed, all the oldest guys I could find, some of them 75, 80 years old. And I wanted to see if anyone could identify any one racer or any one car, or does anyone remember the Curtis garage painted on this old 32? And so far, not a single person has identified anyone in the picture.
Well, I have a feeling you're going to find one, though.
In the meanwhile, I had everybody in the place that I can find who's gone over 200 miles an hour autograph it. Wow. So now I got all these pictures, including Al Tig, the fastest man here at 432 miles an hour.
Now, you're excited about this day, aren't you?
Stuff. Yeah, this is one one of the best things ever happened in the history of hot rodding. This is just nostalgia personified.
Yeah.
You could go your whole life and you'll never see this many old hot rods and old hot rodders all in one place at one time.
Yeah.
This is the largest dry lakes racing event that had ever been held in history.
Wow.
And only thanks goodness that the Air Force cooperated and gave us a chance, because we didn't think they'd ever open this place up again. It looks like they like us and they're going to ask us to come back again. It's going to be great. It'll have to go a long ways to beat today, though, because this is it.
What's the story here on the car?
Well, this windshield's a Duke Halleck windshield.
A what?
Duke Halleck. He was a top racer here at Muroc in the 30s.
Uh-huh.
And this windshield raced out here then, and I built the car for this windshield. I had the same windshield on a car when I was in high school, and I replicated the car.
So you built the car around the windshield?
Exactly. Because Duke has a lot of history in hot rodding from the early 30s, and there were only 12 of these guys made, so it's a pretty rare item.
Only 12 of these windshields made?
Right. He made them for a specific car club called the Night Riders, and I have one of their honorary plaques. But I just thought it was neat to have this car out here because this is one of the originals that raced out here.
And I tell you what, you've got enough dust on this historic windshield here.
Hey, believe it or not, this car's black.
Now we're coming on to some great old cars over here.
Right, that's a whole bunch of the old nostalgia stuff.
Now, would something like this have raced out here? That wouldn't have raced, would
No,
it?
absolutely. This is pretty much what they all look like. It was primer, and of course they all look ugly once you get out here and get dirt all over them, but
well, it's got a lot of character to it.
Yeah, right. It gives us character. Our ears full of dirt and all the good stuff. But no, this is what hot rods all look like. In fact, this is a very clean one compared to a lot of the hot rods that were being run back in 49 and 50 when I was running, you know, my coupe was running. And
what about these over here? Are these?
That's very typical. I mean, an awful lot of the guys now are bringing them back to look like this even again, because that was, you know, the period look is very important anymore, with nostalgia and everything becoming as important as it is.
So is this, what year would this have been?
Well, it's a 32 Roadster, high boy, with the flathead Navarro engine in it. And
look at this old windshield here.
Yeah, that was one of the innovations, the little forky V. See, the stock one had a straight windshield in them, so that was one of the things that the hot rod guys had to change on them.
And here's another old one over here.
Right.
Now these things still move, don't they?
Oh yes, you betcha. These things they'll still get you there. They don't weigh anything, so they still a lot of fun.
Yeah. Now, would this have been something we would have seen out here in the 30s and 40s?
Yes, it would. It's old enough to be here then. It
Really?
would have looked a lot different, but it would have been here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So have you heard stories about what it was like out here in the early days?
I've heard stories from my dad, who heard them from his dad, because my grandpa came out here in the 30s.
Really?
Yes, and that's why we're here today.
What do you mean that's why you're here today?
Well, since my grandpa ran out here way back when, and it was a dream of my dad's to run Bonneville and run out here like he did, and so I'm just doing the next line of the generation to say I've done it too.
This is great! Tell us about your car.
It's a Minesfield road race car, which is LA Airport, in the 30s, and it raced and came in 4th place with my uncle driving it, and my dad was mechanic at Minesfield. It's the original plaque that it got for 4th place.
So would something like this have ever been out here?
Oh, they multi-purpose for a lot of the cars in the early days. You know, they used them for a lot of different things.
Yeah. But I mean, it could have raced out here on a dry lake bed.
Oh yeah, it could have. But it was mainly designed for road race stuff.
Yeah. Now, are you racing it today?
No, just out here cruising around.
You're just out cruising around.
That's all.
With your dog.
Yeah.
And who's this fellow with you?
My friend Bob. He's here with me.
Your friend Bob, and you've got goggles?
Oh, I got the whole apparel. Yeah.
Let's put the goggles on.
Got the whole apparel.
And could you just drive by and we'll just get the effect?
You got it.
This
the
is
effect.
great. There they go.
You want the effect.
Yeah. Now this guy stopped us and said he wanted to show us his car. Tell us about this thing.
Well, this is car belongs to me and my brother. We've been running for about 2 years now, and we're 1 mile an hour off the record.
What do you call these little things?
This is a street roadster. It's supposed to be street legal. It's got little headlights, it's got fenders, and you have to set an original position where the driver sat.
And I hate to tell you, but I think it's a waste of time dusting the car like you're doing.
It looks like my old Roadster.
You had one like that?
Yes.
You
Oh,
mean
no,
you-
no, mine, the body was channeled over the frame.
Let's go over and take a look at it. Did you used to race that out here?
Oh, yeah, right. I turned 139 with this.
139 miles an hour in that car?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Now that was fast.
Yes, it was.
I'm surprised the car would hold together at 139 miles an hour.
Oh, it did. Yeah, it sure looks like my old car.
So that brings back some nice memories
It does.
for you.
You bet it does.
Now the dust is coming up.
Yeah, the wind's coming up, kicking the dust. We can't run safely any cars that are capable of 150 miles an hour or more in a wind of over 12 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And what we've got right now is about 15 or 20.
But now this is part of the history of it out here too, isn't it?
Exactly.
This is not unusual out here.
No, it just came up a little early this morning. Usually it hits us in the afternoon.
Yeah, because I mean, you can really see the dust out here now.
Yeah, and it'll get in everything. It'll take you days to get it out of your ears and nose and everything else.
So now, are you just stopping right now?
We are held right now. We're going to move the course over and get a fresh course to run on, and then we'll leave it up to our chief timer at the far end whether it's safe to run the cars under 150 miles an hour.
Oh, so you could still race, but you just can't race over 150.
If the wind is not gusting real strong and it's under 15 miles an hour, then we will run the slower cars.
You know, this is deceiving because when you first look at it, it looks almost like concrete or something. And yet when the wind comes up,
it picks the
dust comes out of nowhere, doesn't it?
Correct. This particular lake bed is relatively solid compared to some of the others. But the majority of the dust is coming from the cars running over it. They've crunched up the surface a little bit. If you go out away from where there's been vehicular traffic,
there it goes.
It'll just scuff up a little bit.
Yeah. And all that goes right in the air.
Right in the air and in the cars, and it doesn't matter. You roll your windows up, you'll still have it in there. It's very fine. It's like talcum powder. A very fine. Here for a drink of water.
Oh, water, good, thank you. It gets you dry out up here quickly too, don't you?
Get dehydrated real quick.
Boy, look at this wind and dust.
It's
look at this.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
We'll be right there. It's typical. It's typical of the desert.
Look, you can't see anything now.
You can't see a half mile. So we'll be held for a while because of the wind, and hopefully the wind will die down or shift, and we'll be able to start running again.
Boy, it dries you out quick, too.
Yeah, it does. It'll definitely dry you out.
My dad and my uncle used to come out to this lake bed in 1938, and I built this car for him as kind of a replica of what they had out then, and I gave it to him in 1978 for Father's Day, and he put a lot of miles on it before he passed away, so it's a very memorable thing for me to be able to come out here for the first time since 1941.
So this would have been a car that your dad would have raced in, just like this.
Yes.
On the lake bed.
Yes, exactly.
Now, he wouldn't have been racing on a day like this. Look, the wind just came up. You can't even see where, you couldn't drive in this, could you?
There is no way. No, we get a crosswind up here and it gets really dangerous.
Wow.
But like my friend says, if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes because it'll get back to normal.
Did your dad have a lot of stories he told you about racing out here?
Yeah, his stuff was incredible. I mean, I never got a chance to do anything else but build cars. When I was born, my earliest recollection of life was looking out over the hood of a '39 Ford convertible. Yeah. So,
he would have enjoyed this day.
He would have. Yes, it would have been really fabulous. So we're out here to be here for him.
Yeah. Well, now this is a treat. We're gonna head right down the dry lake bed, just like they would have done back in the 30s.
That's right.
Now, it's real windy, so how fast are we going to be able to go?
Well, we'll probably only run about 65 or 70 mile an hour. I don't really want to get, and we don't want our hosts to get angry with us, so we'll go out, we'll have a little fun here.
Okay. Now, how fast would he have gone?
They were in those years. They were running right around 100 miles an hour.
Really?
Yeah, and in the class that they were in, and then right after the war, they were running up around 150, and then of course, they just went ballistic from there.
Well, we're only going to go 65, but that's okay. We're still going to get the effect.
We're going to get the effect, you bet.
All right, we're off. Here we go. Boy, it's tight in here, too.
Yes, it is.
They didn't make cars for big...
Not for you and I, they didn't.
Look at this. Whoa! Ha-ha!
This is probably one of the biggest thrills of my life, is to be able to come out here with my cars and my family and have a sense of what my parents did back in the 30s. And all I've ever heard all my life is Muroc this and Muroc that and Edwards Air Force Base and how they couldn't race out here, and now they've been able to make this happen, and it's a really wonderful thing.
Oh, hello, everybody. I'm Huell Hauser, and I sure hope you enjoyed this adventure. If you'd like to see it again or share it with your family or friends, all you have to do is call 1-800-266-5727, and we'll be glad to send it to you right away.